All right, welcome back to the Elias Macco Show. We took great interest into that exclusive story that Aaron Durfel dropped in the Montreal Gazette on Tuesday morning, revealed that the chief of cardiac surgery at the Jewish General Hospital, Dr. Emmanuel Moss, has given his resignation. And the thought there is that a big part of this resignation is over the rise of anti-Semitism that we have seen in Montreal and in Quebec. He's going to be moving to the United States, to Atlanta, in September. The news brought out a lot of reaction, including from our next guest. Dr. Lior Bibas is with us. He's president of the Association of Jewish Physicians of Quebec. Dr. Bibas, thanks for coming to the studio. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Elias. I'm happy to be here.
When the story drops, when the story gets published and you read it, what's your instant reaction to the news?
Well, I wasn't as surprised as the media is playing it right now. If you're, I'm a physician like Dr. Moss. I grew up in this community, and over the past 3 years, things have changed tremendously for Jewish Canadians and Jewish Montrealers. So seeing that, look, I don't know all the reasons, and I'm sure to make a difficult personal decision like that, it takes a lot of factors, but I'm not surprised that anti-Semitism may have played a significant role in his decision.
What's changed that would affect, when you think about doctors, they probably, you don't live in the worst parts of the city. There are ways you can isolate yourself from the worst of the worst, right? So what do you think's changed? Because I imagine it's got to be work life, maybe university life. Well, I know a lot of doctors end up teaching on university campuses. So let's talk about the 3 years and what has changed that will affect people in prominent positions like doctors.
So, I think beyond the scope of today's interview is that already our healthcare system is very challenged. There's a lot of challenges within our healthcare system that, regardless of your faith or your creed, we face those every day. But with regards specifically to anti-Semitism, what we've been seeing in the streets of Montreal, maybe it's not happening in our neighborhoods, but it does give you a taste of where the country's heading, where the city's heading. And it's been very disappointing. We know specifically students that are on campuses that you hear the kind of things that they're going through, being called names by their peers, being excluded out of study groups. When you have young kids, I'm a father of 3 kids, and to be honest, the way I see things right now, I'm not sure I want my kids to go to university here if things continue this way.
So would you say that members of your association, many of them have had these thoughts that have led to decisions like we saw from Dr. Moss?
I would tell you that probably every single Jewish Canadian in Montreal has had thoughts about, is the grass greener somewhere else? I've known a few that are leaving, including Dr. Moss. And I think time will tell. I think people are still assessing the lay of the land and where this is happening. Unfortunately, leadership on all levels has been extremely weak and complacent. And we need strong leadership in order to change the tide.
I know you can't get into anyone's head. You can't know exactly. But I know a lot of people, but by the way, it does come out even in the story from Aaron Durfel. There are other issues, as you mentioned, with the healthcare system, right? So
sure.
It's hard to say, well, was this really because of anti-Semitism, or is that just adds on to a decision that was made about resources and deteriorating healthcare system? So I wonder how you view that. Is this just another straw that could break the camel's back, or is this the guiding thing here, the biggest reason? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a factor. I think there's probably multiple factors that play a role in making such a big life decision. At least for me, that's how I see it. I grew up in a time in Canada where I felt for a long time that Canada was like the best country in the world, and I think we're seeing less and less in that today. And I think when you have kids, you're looking at the future, especially Jewish kids that are going to university, that have to go into the workforce with everything going on campuses, the encampments, the harassment, the racist words that are said in the streets, and that are emboldened now by leaders that do absolutely nothing. I could definitely see how that played a significant role. Maybe you're offered a better job somewhere, whether it's more money, maybe more resources, and then you see, well, is there really a future here for my kids? And you ask yourself those questions, maybe that could be the final push to really commit to such a big life decision.
We had Melissa Landsman on the program. She's the deputy conservative leader. She's Jewish. And she said on this program yesterday, I'm not going anywhere. I'm fighting.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's a thought for the doctors in your association. No, you can't go. Now's not the time to go. Now's the time to stay and fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally, I'm more like Melissa. Like, I believe that my role here is to fight, and I believe we have to take a fight, up a fight. But that's not everyone. Some people have different priorities. That's a personal decision, and I respect his personal decision, and respect anyone's personal decision in regards to what they think is best for their family in Montreal.
Mark Carney spoke at a Toronto synagogue this week. What are your thoughts on what he had to say? Do you think he understands some of the things you've outlined? Do you think he gets it?
No, I don't think anyone in the federal government really understands what's going on. I mean, I thought it was a prank initially, a bit of a joke. The people he nominated on his committee, one of them that said in the past how Hezbollah should not be on the terrorist list. I don't think these people understand what Jewish Canadians are going through. They were yes, they are elected officials, but I'm not sure if the Jewish community would have voted them in. And unfortunately, the Liberal Party has been a huge failure for Canadian Jews across the country. With
Dr. Lior Bibas, president of the Association of Jewish Physicians of Quebec, we're reacting to the story that came out yesterday about one Quebec doctor, Dr. Emmanuel Moss, that will be leaving Quebec, resigning, heading to the U.S. And one of the main reasons that we're told is due to rising anti-Semitism in the country. If things don't change, what do you what's the trend line? What do you think it looks like for Jewish doctors in Quebec?
Look, if things don't change and things get worse, I think we're going to start seeing, not just amongst physicians, but amongst the Jewish community, a slow exodus. Historically, when Jews live in countries where especially the leadership doesn't support them and actually emboldens those that antagonize them, they just leave. That was the story of my parents, and I'm first generation Canadian, and especially for physicians, we have skills that are transposable in other societies and are actually very much in demand. So maybe a few physicians will follow through and look for greener pastures.
Yeah, but otherwise, this would be a place that you would say your members would not want to leave otherwise? Like when obviously there's pay issues. We talked about the research, that kind of stuff. But at large, all in all, Quebec is still a great place to practice?
Yeah, I mean, I love Quebec. I love Montreal. I grew up here. I'm very happy to raise my family here for now. Mm-hmm. But you have to understand that everything changed after October 7th. Mm-hmm. For us, it was really a wake-up call, and we haven't really seen action from a leadership perspective to go back to the Canada we once knew.
Is there an action? Give me some examples maybe of some action you'd like to see that could change outcomes here for where doctors are deciding to head their careers.
Well, at first, I thought we'd see significant changes with the new mayor, but I would like the police to intervene, specifically when there's hateful riots or manifestations. They have to intervene and put a stop to it, other than tweets or saying strong words or condemning it, because it just hasn't stopped. And I think these people, this fringe minority, is emboldened by the actions and these inactions of the government, and they're continuing to push the envelope.
When you look at university campuses and you look at our medical faculties and the student bodies at universities on the English side, French side, is it fringe?
It's very loud. I still think it's a minority. I hope to believe it's a minority, but it's a very loud minority. And unfortunately, the leadership is weak. And because they're weak, they're afraid of even a loud minority.
Dr. Bibas, got to leave it there. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Elias.
That's Dr. Lior Bibas, president of the Association of Jewish Physicians of Quebec.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.